Hey man, say man, we in here. Boss Hog, K Poke through the door. Here to talk this boxing. We're gonna wait till a couple people to get in here, man. And then we're gonna talk that boxing talk. You know, today's topic gonna be Javante Tank Davis, man. Got some questions, man, because Shakur Stevenson, a guy that wants to fight Javante Tank Davis, is now going to help Jake Paul. And, not too many people talking about it. So, you know what I'm saying? We want to shed light on that. We're gonna wait for a couple of more people to get in here, and then we're gonna cook, man. You know what I'm saying? That's just what it is. Um, so we're just patiently waiting. You know what I mean? Overall, man, it was a good Saturday for me. Um, my daughter's birthday really is tomorrow, but we celebrating it all weekend for her, man. So it's been an adventurous weekend. You know what I mean? When you got daughters, man, you gotta do it up for them. But we're gonna wait for a couple of more people to get in here, and then we really gonna, you know, really talk that talk. We ain't gonna spend too much time. We're gonna be in about an hour and a half, talk that boxing talk. So, like I said, we're gonna wait for a couple of more people to get in here, and then it's on the cracking. We're gonna have Coach B on the live, so Coach B gonna lead this one. Um, he gonna jump in here, man, in a minute. Pause, and then we really gonna talk that boxing talk, man. We're gonna listen to Timothy Bradley. Timothy Bradley had an interesting perspective on Shakur Stevenson and Raymond Ford and Montana Love all going over there to help Jake Paul try to beat Javante Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? It's just a lot of questions. A lot of questions that need to be asked and answered. Right? Why is Shakur Stevenson going over there to basically go help Jake Paul? Right? So, like I said, we're gonna wait for a couple of more people to get in here, man, and then we're gonna do our thug this. We're gonna be able to talk that boxing talk. We're gonna be able to, have conversation. Mm, 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 mm. Man, if it, we just talked that boxing talk, man. So let's go ahead and listen to that boy Timothy Desert Storm Bradley, man. Let's see what he got to say. Give him the secret to defeat your brother, Tank Davis. Whether you hate him or love him. That's crazy to me. Hey, ain't nobody damn perfect, man, but I'm here to let y'all know, man, y'all dropping the ball, man. Y'all out of pocket on this. You didn't see what Boost did? You see what Boost tried to do and you see it backfire on him? Now he looking stupid. Now he over there trying to chase a Crawford fight. Ain't nobody finna fight you. Ain't nobody about to fight you. He ain't about to give you no payday after you did what you did. Look, Tank, you ain't out the weeds for this. You part of this movement that's going on right now. Well, I got in the ring with a top pound for pound fight in the world. Y'all going over there contribute to help this dude. What you need to be doing is going to go support Tank. You gotta pray for your enemies, man. You'll be amazed what come about. It's gonna actually bump up Tank. Hey, people gonna be supporting Tank on these type of actions. You guys gotta look at the big picture, man. Plus, I'm Tim Desert Storm Bradley, people. I'm a 5-time world champ, Hall of Fame. Hey, at that time, I wasn't what I am today, but I still was a world champion. I held myself to a higher standard. These young fighters, y'all gotta hold yourself to a higher standard. But don't sit here, the same people, don't sit here and say that you wouldn't do what Tank is doing, and then you supporting the enemy. Tank ain't the enemy. Jake Paul is the enemy. Give him the secret to defeat your brother, Tank Davis. Whether you hate him or love him. That's great. I gotta admit, for the first time, some of the things that Tim Ballhead Bradley was saying, I gotta agree with it. How do you go over there and help a guy who is not part of the brotherhood of boxing? How do you go over there and help a Jake Paul who is not helping boxing? He's helping women's boxing, we'll say that. But he's not helping boxing in its entirety. He ain't helping men's boxing, right? And the first time he fought a real boxer, he lost. He's been fighting old retired UFC fighters and old retired boxers, right? He fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but you know he a co-kid. You know what I mean? I mean he never take boxing seriously, and he intertwined with some cartel stuff. So yet again, Jake Paul has never really fought a real fighter, and Shakur Stevenson, a guy who sat there and said, "Hey, I do not support Gervonta Tank Davis going to fight Jake Paul. I would not be watching that fight. I wouldn't have took that fight. I would have rematched Lamar Roach. But then you over there helping Jake Paul. And you're saying, oh man, it's for business. You know, I'm very excited to go spar with him because I want to pick his business mind. Are you kidding me, bro? You could talk to him about business outside of that. You ain't got to go help the man. You could just go, hey man, I want to pick your business brain on this right here. Right? But you go over there and you're helping him to go defeat a guy that you want to fight. It doesn't make sense. How do you, Shakur Stevenson, go to help a guy who wants, right? A guy that you want to fight, a guy that you're seeking after. You feel like you're on that level, right? Another question I have. If you're an elite fighter, why are you looking at yourself as just a sparring partner? One thing about Terrence Crawford is this. Terrence Crawford has sparred many guys, but people come to him to spar. He ain't never went nowhere for work, right? I don't want to say never, because early in his career, he went and sparred Timothy Bradley, and Timothy Bradley told him, "You're not a sparring partner," right? But once Terrence Crawford got to that point where he realized who he was as a fighter, he wasn't just a sparring partner, right? He wasn't a guy you bring in for work to prepare for a fight. He wasn't that type of guy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he helped Shakur, and I know somebody gonna say, "Oh, well, he helped Shakur for his fights." They're friends, right? Of course, he's gonna help his friend out. Shakur Stevenson and Jake Paul are not friends, right? They not cool. But yet again, they're going over there, Raymond Ford, Montana Love, going over there to help Jake Paul defeat Gervonta Tank Davis. And I'm not making this video because of to just be on a Gervonta Tank Davis train. I'm doing this for the fact that we have to look at everything equally in the sport of boxing, right? Earlier this year, or a couple months ago, y'all ridiculed Boots for going to help Canelo, right? So where's the same energy at for Shakur Stevenson going to go help Jake Paul? What's good, Lee? Where's the ridicule at for that? What's good? What's good? The aircraft carrier. What's up with you? Right? Where is the the ridicule for that. You know what I mean? I got so many questions, right? Shakur Stevenson should be focusing on trying to get this Teofimo fight signed, sealed, and delivered. He should be focusing on building his brand, not going over there to spar Jake Paul to help him beat Gervonta Tank Davis. Raymond Ford too. Raymond Ford is trying to climb those ranks at 130 to get a fight with O'Shaquie Foster and all the other champions at 30, right? Why are you going over there to fight or spar Jake Paul? I don't understand it. I get it, like, y'all don't like what Tank doing. You know what I mean? I don't like everything he doing. Um, yeah, I think that stoppage was premature. I did a little short talking about it. I feel like Joseph Parker could have kept fighting. I don't think that it should have been stopped. So I definitely want to see a rematch because I feel like it was a premature stoppage. But to get back on topic, it's like when you analyze, Shakur Stevenson, yeah, that's what I feel like. Truthfully, I didn't think Joseph Parker was hurt. I just think that, because a lot of those punches, Wardley wasn't landing clean. He was kind of landing on the glove. He landed some, but he would start throwing kind of wild shots. And, in my opinion, I feel like it was a premature stoppage. I feel like, at least, do the 8 count. And, I feel like Parker could have kept fighting, truthfully. But to get back on topic, it's like, matter of fact, we're gonna talk about that air carrier in this episode. We're gonna get to that. But and let me just make this clear. I'm not in support of Gervonta Tate Davis fighting Jake Paul. I'm just being real with you. I don't like the fight. I understand it, right? I get it from a business perspective. I understand it, but I didn't want it, right? As a fight fan, I didn't want it. I definitely understand it though. When somebody come at you with 50 million and an opportunity to be a crossover star, to be bigger than what you are, you're gonna take the fight. That's just I think Tank should have rematched on my Roach. Yeah. But truthfully, man, I understand it. You know what I mean? Do I like it? No. But I still don't like the fact that Shakur is going over there to help Jake Paul. It doesn't make sense. All these young fighters are doing, you know, this stuff. That and it's like in this era of boxing, it's like I feel like they're moving in the wrong way. You know what I'm saying? I think Shakur and them should have kind of stayed away from the Jake Paul fight. If you felt like, hey, this is a fight I don't like, I'm not gonna watch, I'm not gonna support it, then you shouldn't be helping Jake Paul. It's kind of hypocritical because on one hand you saying I don't support the fight, I don't like the fight, I'm not watching it, but then you're gonna go help him beat Gervonta Tank Davis. You know what I'm saying? So I just think that, man, like, it's kind of hypocritical of Shakur. It's hypocritical. I mean, Raymond Ford, he ain't never came out and said nothing that he ain't like it or whatever. But still, you know, y'all should be banding together. Boxing is a tight knit community when it comes down to just from the fight fans and from the fight fans all the way down to the, fighters, to the promoters, to everything. Like, it's a tight knit community. You know what I mean? Uh, what's good, coach? It's a tight knit community. What's up with you?
Yo, what's good? What's good? My bad.
No, you good. I just played that Bradley audio, which I sent it to you already, so you pretty much know what he said. But you know, the people in the comment section would like to know, Coach, how you feel about that. How do you feel about what Timothy Bradley said? Do you agree with it? And then we'll segue off into the whole Shakur thing. But how you feel about that Timothy Bradley little snippet video?
which part exactly? The boost reference, or the fact that the guys that's helping Jake Paul versus Tank? Which part exactly? So I'm not
Uh,
elaborating on the whole video.
um, I would say the part about the guys helping Jake Paul.
Okay, first things first. I'm pretty sure you already broke it down to everybody. Let's go ahead and get it out of the way. When Boots helped Canelo, long story short, he was disowned by the community, by the black community. He was called out his name. He was called all type of things. He said he shouldn't be, and they were saying that he shouldn't be doing this. X Y Z yada yada yada. But now we got Raymond Ford, we got Love, we got Stevenson helping Jake Paul, who was not even a real boxer. Let's be honest. This dude made his brand off of YouTube. And I got other reasons behind it. I think the dude taking PEDs, and if you're not, no disrespect, but at the same time, you don't go from that build to this build, and all of a sudden, a competitor in your own way in the sport of boxing, and you're getting guys to fight you like Tank Davis. But at the same time, that's besides the point. These guys helping Jake Paul, in my opinion, is like is creating a double standard within the sport of boxing. How is Boots not able to help Canelo, but yet nobody's mentioning or even chirping or even speaking about what Shakur Loves and Ford is doing to help Jake Paul beat Tank? They should be not even indulging in this. That's basically like them co-signing. It's okay for you to be stepping outside of the sport, fighting guys who's not even really relevant to the boxing ranks, any sanctioning body. He's not relevant to any of that. But at the same time, you guys are given the okay to say, hey, Jake Paul can infiltrate our sport and do what he wants. We might as well start giving them belts. We might as well start giving them real live pay-per-view fights. We might as well start letting him infiltrate the system and tear down everything everybody has built from the ground up. I don't like it because it creates a double standard. And not only that, it just goes to show you how much casuals and fanboys really run the sport of boxing at this point in time. There's no other way around it. I don't like it. I don't think it's the right gesture coming from guys, especially Shakur and Ford. You guys are known in the sport of boxing. Not only that, you guys should be trying to get in the ring with Tank. So why are you helping Jake Paul figure out? And I don't think none of y'all can really help Jake Paul figure out how to beat Tank. Just at the same time, why are y'all even indulging in this type of foolishness? I don't even think, like, outside of that, I don't think Tank should be fighting Jake Paul. I think Tank got other fish to be frying, but at the same time, that's besides the point. Why? What makes this okay for these three guys, and probably the other guys that haven't even been shown or seen or said anything about, side with Jake Paul, help him, train for Tank, but yet Boots got a knock on his name because he got in there. Well, he sparred with Canelo a few times to I guess help him train for the Bud fight. I'm not understanding. I don't like it at all. I think it's stupid. I think it just shows, how much the sport of boxing really has took a step back and really is changing for the worst. I don't like it at all.
Yeah, I think that like I was expressing to everybody, man, when you sit here and you look at Williams Crawford or Andre Ward or even Floyd, when you get to that level where you realize you that dude, you're more than a sparring partner, right? And when guys want to work with you, it's more or less like you got to come to where I'm at, and that's something Timothy Bradley, mentioned. He was like, man, when I realized like who I was, basically, I wouldn't. No, I'm not gonna help you nothing. Like if you want to work, we can work, but I'm not a sparring partner. And Shakur Stevenson is a guy who says he's elite, who says he's, the best at 135, but yet again, you're a sparring partner for Jake Paul. That's to me kind of hypocritical and goes against what you believe in yourself. To me, it shows me that you don't really believe in yourself like that. And I'm just being real. When like I said before, when you are looked at as a great, or you look at yourself as one of the best, you're more than just a sparring partner. And for you to, you three guys, excuse me, to band together, go to Jake Paul, and I get it, he probably threw you some money, but still, it just goes to show you that, like I said before, any fighter can be bribed, right? All these fighters, and let me just make this perfectly clear. Me and Coach, we do not agree with Tank fighting Jake Paul, but we understand it, right? We understand that somebody come sit 50 million in front of you, right? To fight this YouTuber who coming in with fans from Disney Channel and Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network and all this other stuff. That's a different type of fan, right? That's a fan where like if you beat Jake Paul, you inherit those type of fans, right? Now, yesterday's price is not today's price. We understand it. Do I like it? No, right? I feel like it's kind of a black out of boxing, but I definitely understand the business move. And I feel like if Shakur Stevenson, Raymond Ford, Montana Love, especially, because he ain't been. I don't even know if he fought since he got body bag and toe tag in his last time I seen him fight on that DAZN card. Um, Somebody came in with 50 million and said, "Hey, fight Jake Paul." They signed the contract. If Logan Paul came to Shakur Stevenson and said, "Hey, brother, I want to fight you," they're offering 80 million for us to fight. 40 for you, 40 for me. You'll see Shakur Stevenson posting flyers. Yeah, I'm fighting Logan Paul. Da da da. Right? And we just calling a spade a spade. It's crazy how like people got, and this is all I'm saying, and it's the purpose of my channel. It's the reason why I created my channel. There are narratives in boxing, and they put jackets on fighters, and they give passes to other fighters. They let other fighters do what they want, but then criticize one fighter all the time. And Tank is the fighter that gets criticized for everything that he do. And I gotta be real about it. Now, when I'm talking like this, oh, you're a Tank lover. You love Tank. All you do is talk about Tanky Wanky. Look, bro, you can say whatever you want to say. You know what I'm saying? Your mama come. No, just playing. I'm serious. All I'm saying at the end of the day is that when it comes down to Tank, he gets the most hate out of anybody in boxing today. Right? Some of it rightfully so though. Hey, the Lamont Roach situation, right? Should have rematched him. But at the end of the day, it is what it is. This is not the first time in boxing we didn't get the fight that we wanted. When you look at it, Canelo never fought David Benavidez. I don't think he will now either. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's a bunch of fights. Pacquiao never fought Terrence Crawford. You know what I mean? That's a fight I wanted to see. You know what I mean? Pacquiao didn't fight Errol Spence. I wanted to see that. I wanted to see how Errol Spence was going to try to deal with Pacquiao, right? I wanted to see that. I wanted to, styles make fights. I know it's going to be a very difficult fight for Errol, but at the same time, I want to see stuff like that, right? I wanted to see Keith Thurman versus Errol Spence. We never got that fight, right? So at the end of the day, Terrence Crawford versus Keith Thurman, Terrence Crawford versus Danny Garcia, like there are a couple of fights that I wanted to see of this time frame that we didn't get to see, right? So I just think, man, like we gotta judge everybody equally, man. You know what I mean? That's my take on that. Is if we're gonna sit here and uh hold boots to the fire, then we need to hold Shakur Stevenson, Montana Love, and Raymond Ford to the fire. That's what it boils down to. Now, Coach, on the second part, he started bringing up Boots, right? He said Boots, man, don't deserve no fight with Crawford. You know what I mean? He said, man, that man don't deserve to be in no ring with Crawford. Do you agree with that? You know, let the world know. Has Boots done enough, right, to get in the ring with a Crawford?
I'll be honest. At this point, now that the landscape has been shaped and all the dust has been settled, it's easy to sit there and say, no, Boots don't deserve to be in the ring with Crawford. But at the same time, how can we ever get the proper viewing? How can we ever get the proper acknowledgement from any fighter if we go off the system of deserving, because it's a lot of fighters who we know doggone well they've been in the ring with some of the likes of the elite pound for pound fighters in the world, and we know for doggone sure they wasn't deserving. I can sit here and nitpick Crawford and say I don't think he was deserving of a fight with a Canelo, even though I didn't care for that fight like that. I just wanted to, that's one of those fights where I'm one of those guys when it comes to Crawford, I need to see it to believe it. That was a fight where it was like, okay, that's I see it. But at the same time, we can sit here and nitpick and we can go through everybody's resume. But at the same time, if we're gonna go off the system of deserving, then truly and honestly, we'll never know based off deserving if Boots is really a rightful competitor for Bud Crawford if we're going off of deserving, because we're gonna look at his resume. We're gonna nitpick his resume. After we nitpick his resume, we're gonna sit there and say who is the next question comes up, who has he fought? What has he done? Why was he ducking this fighter? Why did this not happen? Why did he move this way with his first fight? There's a lot of questions that'll arise. But if we just going off of deserving, then I'm gonna be honest, looking at Crawford's current body of work, 3 time this, 3 time that, went unified this. I mean, all the fingers and all the answers point to no. But at the same time, I'm not built on the system of deserving. I'm built on who looks like they can put this guy in a situation to have to actually rise and actually be an elite competitor and actually show that he's pound for pound the greatest of all time. And I just feel like Boots is one of those guys you can put in the ring. I'm not saying Boots will 100% beat Crawford or 100% just wash Crawford, but at the same time, that is a skillful guy. That is a talented guy. That is a guy who pops out on the film that looks like he can give Bud a run for his money. Now, at the same time, that's easier said than done. But when you look at both sides of the coins, I keep trying to tell people and try to point out to people Crawford's resume and how his career went in the beginning of time. It kind of runs parallel with the same way Boots' career is currently going. The only difference is Bud eventually got himself in the ring with champions, consistent champions, and he took over and he won those fights. No knock on Bud. Great talent, great guy. He's done amazing things. He has nice accolades. He's accomplished a lot. He's accomplished something nobody else has done, and we probably won't see it in our time frame. Not saying it can't be done again, but for us who's been around the sport of boxing and we X amount years of age, we won't see that again within our time frame, within our era. Same thing. That's like Michael Jordan. If you got a chance to see Michael Jordan do all of this real time, not highlights, it's something those people in that era never got a chance to see again from nobody. From nobody. You get what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's kind of like the same thing with Bud. But to sit here and say Boots is not deserving of a fight with Crawford based on the resume is crazy. I look out. I think outside of the box. I look outside of resumes, but at the same time, I do put resumes into the equation. It's part of the equation, but at the same time, I'm also looking at Bud's resume, and it's like, oh, I think Bud in his resume, when you go back and look at his fights, he was easily regardless of what they said, oh, he's an underdog. Oh, he's never been on the stage. I think when you go look at Bud's resume, long term, then from then to now, he easily beats a lot of those guys without even having to break a sweat. The same thing with Boots. You go look at Boots' resume. You look at the names that's on there. He easily walks over those guys in his sleep. So at the same time, for Bud, minus the Spence, we didn't think that would go that way. Same thing minus the Canelo. It's a lot of people didn't think that would go that way. Not saying he didn't have a chance or opportunity to beat those guys, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, at the time he fought him, it's like, yeah, you got to kind of question it. But looking at the rest of his resume outside of Spence and Canelo, you go back and look at some of those names, it's like, yeah, they were champions, but come on now, looking at Bud and what he's accomplished and what he's done, who would sit there and say, okay, he was the real underdog? We looking at Bud. He was not the underdog in most of those fights before the actual Canelo and Spence fight. Same thing with Boots. You go back and look at his resume. It's like, he can't be the underdog against some of these guys that's on his resume. No, no way. But at the same time, if you look at how Bud's career went up until now, Boots is kind of on the same path. Yeah, it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more, backstory on Boots than it is Bud, because Bud didn't really pop out on the screen like that when you're watching. Bud didn't have sleek, sleek, flashy, he made a miss. He doing the robot. He kind of disco dancing. He pop locking. Bud wasn't doing that. But at the same time, it is what it is. Their careers, they kind of run parallel at this time outside of the Canelo and Spence fight. So again, I'm not built on a deserving system. I'm looking at, I want Crawford to get in the ring with a guy that I know 100% for a fact will push him to the point of almost breaking in some way, somehow. Bud shapeshifts one more time for us and shows us this guy cannot match up with me. And I see Boots being that guy where I think that can bring the absolute best and elite Bud Crawford I want to see. Not saying he hasn't done it, not saying he hasn't shown it, but at the same time, I'm looking at the resumes, and it's like, I don't think Bud really had to tap into that inner dog or that inner warrior to beat some of these guys he fought. Same thing with Boots. But at the same token, those two in the ring with each other will bring out a different side of each other, and then we will get a chance to see both of them push to the brink and see which one can actually rise to the occasion and defeat the other one.
Yeah, I agree. And truthfully, like when we talk about Boots, like you said, Coach, he passed the eye test, right? And I mean, has he done a lot of his career to deserve a fight with Bud? No, but it's getting some buzz for people to really want to see that fight. They want to see Bud fight a young, hungry lion, right? He's typically fighting guys around his age or older at this point in his career, right? And history shows, at one point in time, you being the guy, you give that young lion that opportunity. You know what I mean? Um, and I think, based off history, if it's money in the fight, which Bud got turkey. I keep telling y'all, he got Mr. Batik on it. He got him. So since he got him, hey, give that man a shot. Right? We can sit here and say and speculate, oh, Boots ain't ready. Right? I already gave my viewpoint on how that fight would end. But at the end of the day, we won't know till they get in there. Right? We speculate about Bud and Spence. Right? I picked up Spence. Right? We didn't know until he got in there, and then he showed us that, hey, my resume don't matter. I'm better than this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, he moved up to fight Medjamov. I picked Bud to stop Medjamov. And it was closer. I felt like he didn't do enough to win. But hey, Bud didn't knock him out. You know what I'm saying? So, and it's boxing. You're not gonna knock everybody out. But at the same time, when you kind of looking at, resumes in comparison, it's like, okay, Bud fought Gamboa, right? They like to throw that name out there. Although he brought up Gamboa was a boogeyman at that time. He brought Gamboa from 126, right, to 135. They fought, and it was a hell of a fight. But Gamboa hurt Bud. You know what I'm saying? But ended up knocking out Gamboa, ended up stopping him. You know what I'm saying? It was a good fight, right? But then after that, it's like, okay, they try to bring up Ricky Burns, but nah. Bradis Prescott, okay, Bradis Prescott. But who is he really? Was he a global star? You know what I mean? Was he known globally? Right? That's the question. Um, so I'll say Bud got some decent names on his resume. He got more concrete names as the last 3 years, right? Early in his career is kind of, but when you look at Boots, right? you can say Stanionis. I mean, you can say Stanionis, right? But that's it, right? So you want to see Boots get those names, but at the same time, you can't deny the skill level, right? You could look at a dude and coach, and I want you to really hone in on from a coach's perspective. You could look at a guy and be like, man, that dude, regardless of who he fight, he gonna step up to the plate, and that's what I see when I see Boots. That me personally, I could be wrong. You know what I mean? He may step up to the plate and get body bag and toe tag, but when I see a Boots and he fighting, I feel like he gonna step up to the plate regardless of who he in there with. But coach, give them from a coach's perspective, when you look at a guy, you see that special trait in him, regardless of who he in the ring with. Break that down.
First and foremost, with the sport of boxing, we got quantity. We got plenty of quantity, and I think that's what people fail to realize. Quantity is always going to be there in the sport of boxing. You got guys turning pro every day, every night. They're gonna come, they're gonna go. But when you're looking at special talent, we're looking for quality over quantity, quality over quantity. And when you look at Boots, he's a quantitative figure you can put in the ring with Bud, and it instantly gets a different type of result. You'll see if Bud is really that elite with adjustments. You'll see if Bud is really that elite with his timing. You'll see if Bud is really that elite with his IQ. You'll see if Bud is really that elite with his footwork by how he handles a quantitative figure like a Jerome Boots Ennis. That's not somebody where you get in the ring and you can just sit there and pick apart regardless of what point of the fight it is. You're gonna have to remain on your P's and Q's the entire fight unless you knock him out. You can't get to rounds 10, well, 9, 10, 11, 12, and you won the whole, the rest of the fight, and then just think Boots is done. He's cooked. No, because Boots gonna come at you the entire fight. As long as he's standing on his 2 feet, he's holding up his guard and he's able to move his head. Boots is going to come at you, and he's looking for the win. If he can get the knockout, he'll get the knockout. You know what I'm saying? So instantly, when you put those two in the ring, we get to see same thing for Boots. That doesn't just apply for Bud. We like to say, Boots passed the eye test, but putting him in the ring with the Crawford immediately, you'll have to get different results. We will get different results because he's not going to be able to do some of that slick stuff he does, against other fighters like a Stanionis and a Avenesian or excuse me, a Stanionis. My bad. I don't know why I said Avenesian, but anyways, you're not going to get that same results. He's not going to be able to stand there, switch hit mid combination, leave his guard down, and then take a step straight back and not get caught with something. He's not going to be able to do that. So now we get to see Boots in rare form. Now we get to see Bud in rare form. We get to see them actually take that next step forward for showing us how elite they are. And granted, who wins that fight, it's not a bad fight for either one of them to lose. Yes, it's a bigger risk for Bud losing that fight because what he's accomplished, but at the same time, how Coach and how K-Po and other guys who really love the sport of boxing sees that fight, it's not really a knock on either one of them. It's just us saying, let's get the best in there with the best according to what we see and what they have accomplished thus far in their career. But in my opinion, yes, he may be old in age. Yes, he may be, coming down off of his, climax, the peak of his career, his prime of his career. But at the same time, he has low mileage. So I believe he's still able to get in there and give a young lion like Boots a chance. Not only that, you get to see the changing of the guard if Boots does win. You get to see the passing of the torch if Boots does win. Hell, even if Boots loses, you still get to see the passing of the torch because Crawford is doing. If you're in that position, you're not able to politic and say, hey, this is the guy I want to give the opportunity to take over the sport. When I choose to lay all my belts down, when I choose to say, hey, I'm no longer wrapping up. I'm not putting on the gloves no more. You get to see the changing of the guard. We don't get to see that too often these days in the sport of boxing. Nobody gives anybody an opportunity. Everybody just want to sit on it, bask in the glory, and then after they ride off in the sunset, it's like they leave fans with who do we have? Now everybody's scratching and clawing trying to prove a point, and then this is how we get crazy debacles with the like the Tank, the Shakur, the T.O., the Devin Haney situation. You got four guys claiming they're the king, but at the same time, nobody passed either one of them the torch in this situation. So they are able to sit there and create their own thrones in a way and say, I'm the best at this. You can't beat me. But then at the same time, we never get to see the fights because everybody's created their own throne and we didn't see the changing of the guard. We didn't see the passing of the torch. So that ties into that too. But at the same time, to answer K-Po's question directly, when you're looking at guys who have a special type of skill set and they always rise to the occasion. I use Abdullah Mason, for example, Baron Rodriguez, for example. We have seen these young guys get put on their backs. On their backs. They get up, they go to the corner, they look across the ring and say, ain't no way this guy better than me. Let me stop playing. Let me open up my toolbox. And I'm finna use every tool I got in my toolbox to finish this guy. Whether it's a knockout or it's a complete wash, the rest of the fight. You see guys rise to the occasion. Those are special talents that we talk about. Those are the fighters that we talk about. Guys that face adversity in a situation and immediately respond. No knock against Bud, but I haven't seen Bud do that. And I think Boots can push him to the brink of facing some type of adversity and make him shapeshift into having to open up his toolbox completely and display what everybody is talking about. Not saying he can't, not saying he don't have those qualities, those characteristics, but at the same time, Boots is one of those guys who can push him to the brink and have to tap into that other side that I and the real boxing heads want to see. Like I said, it's no knock on Bud, but at the same time, his resume makes us question. Well, makes me specifically question how great, how really great is Bud? How great can he be? Because like I say, his resume, you look at it, is easily to say Bud was a better guy in this fight, regardless of who the champion. And again, I want to reiterate, just because a guy has a belt doesn't make him the best. There's guys who I'm not gonna say there's guys who never got a chance to touch a belt, but there's guys who don't possess a belt right now, and they could be one of the best in that division, but they just haven't had the opportunity. Or every time their name comes up, these guys turn around wanting to fight their mandatories because that name's coming up. These guys running around trying to move up to a division because they trying to accomplish something different. You get what I'm saying? So at the same time, when you're looking at special talent that always rises to the occasion, it makes a difference in what the guy we all would consider to be the best in the division just because he's holding the belt. But you immediately put him in a ring with a guy who has those special talents and they always rise above the occasion. You immediately see if the champion that was holding the belt, defending the belt, you'll immediately see, okay, he went in there and he took care of business against a guy who normally rises to the occasion and he beat this guy convincingly. That's something that I look for. That's something we all should be looking for when we watch the sport of boxing. Not just, oh, my favorite fighter got the belt and he beat Joe, Ricky, and a couple other names that we know wasn't skillful enough to, or wasn't even a rightful champion. You know what I'm saying? And this is not a knock against Bud. This is for every fighter that's out there who who names hangs upon this scenario. But at the same time, when we're watching the sport of boxing, we got to look at overall, what does this guy do in the heat of the moment? And can we get this guy in the ring to push this young lion or OG to the brink of maybe even close to losing? And we get to see greatness right in front of our eyes. That's all I'm asking when it comes to pushing forth a better sport of boxing. Like get the guys in there that's elite, that's great. Get them to fight each other without all the bickering, without all the foolishness, without all the, oh, I'm not, like, I can care less who the A side, B side. At the end of the day, somebody got to lose this fight. And sometimes it's going to be the A side. Sometimes the A side going to lose. Sometimes B side going to win. You never know. But at the same time, we really can't say who's the A side, B side in this era of boxing because these guys are not getting in the ring with the figures that can push them to the brink of like, oh man, I think he's about to lose this one. And all of a sudden, boom, boom, bam. Oh, snap. He just knocked that guy out and he was going to lose this fight. We ain't seen that too much. We seen it some, but we ain't seen it too much as of lately. It's always the A side watching the B side, and that's that. Because ain't nobody really, the A side ain't fighting the A side. Put it like that.
Yeah, I think that, like I said earlier, Boots, you see the skill, you see the talent. We just want to see, like I said, I will watch that fight. I think that's a fight that I think Bud should give an opportunity. I know that the brother put in the comment section earlier that Bud offered him to fight twice. He turned it down twice. Okay, cool. But at that point in time, could you make the argument that Boots was doing anything special? I mean, yeah, you saw, you know, the specialness, the Roman Villa performances, and I think that was even before the Roman Villa performance, right? But I'm just saying, Bud being the type of fighter that he viewed himself as, you know, Boots kind of built his name up just a little bit more, right? So there's a little buzz around Boots' name, although he ain't fighting, names as of yet, but there's some buzz around him, and there's some excitement when you watch him fight. So at the end of the day, your eyes don't lie to you. You know what you see, right? So when you sitting there and you like, oh man, I already offered him twice. I mean, truthfully, it sounds like, it sounds like, man, I don't want to be in no more tough fights. And I get it because Crawford is 38 years old. He almost 40. He just beat Canelo. I understand it, right? But it's like, okay, now we want to see you in there with a guy who's, you know, skill wise on on your level, skill wise, right? Maybe not IQ wise, but skill wise, he on your level, right? You could make the argument that he may be more skillful than Crawford. I know that's gonna rub some people the wrong way, but it is what it is. Boots got a
I,
little bit more sauce.
I mean, I'll elaborate on that. It's like football. You're not always gonna be the biggest. You're not always gonna be the fastest. You're not always gonna be the strongest. But when you get a guy who's matched up skill for skill with you, and maybe even better, what can you do to make that guy respect you? And at the end of the day, you end up beating him at his own game. You know what I'm saying? It's. I'm gonna be honest. Boots is a more skillful fighter than Bud Crawford. It's not. It's not. That's not a maybe. It's no question right there. You can look at what they do in the ring, regardless of what the competition is in front of them. You can look. You can visually see that Boots is more skillful than a Bud Crawford. Now, experience plays a role in that. On behalf of Bud Crawford, he has more experience. I would say that Bud has a tad bit more, a little bit more IQ than Boots. I would say his timing, Bud's timing is better than Boots. But when we're looking at skill for skill, Boots is the more skilled fighter in this situation. You can't always run from the fact and say, "Oh, look what Bud did against this guy," but that's that guy. Is he gonna do what Boots can do? Can he do what Boots can do? Can he even move like Boots? So we can sit here and cherry pick guys all day long, but at the same time, it's like when you put Boots in front of a Bud, what version of Bud do we get that shows us, okay, we was completely wrong about this whole Boots thing, and he is more skillful than Boots. He rose to the occasion. He ended up being faster, quicker, whatever the case may be. But I'm not gonna sit here and even play with y'all. Boots is a more skillful fighter than Bud, and it is what it is. Not saying he's 100% better than Bud. Not saying he's better than Bud at all. But at the same time, until we get that fight, which I don't think we're gonna get, is no reason to sit here and say Bud or watch Boots, because Boots has skill sets. He has things in his back pocket that no other fighter has had in Bud's entire career that he fought. So we like I say, that's why I want to see that fight. I want to see that fight simply because I think it automatically brings out a different side of both of those fighters. And not only that, like I say, I'm not a big believer in a deserving system, but as fans of boxing, we deserve something of this magnitude, especially between two black fighters. You know what I'm saying? When's the last time we really had that outside of the Bud and Spence? When's the last time we consistently, year in, year out, had that fight between two black fighters, and it was just like, okay, okay, this was the fight of the century. This was the fight of the decade. This was the fight of all fights. You know, we haven't had that consistently, and I think this is one of the fights that can bring that back to the sport of boxing. I'm not saying it's going to happen 100% wholeheartedly right away. No, but if we get something like a Boots and a Bud, these two, Bud himself can ignite a fire in between within his own circle. Shakur. Now you got Shakur. Okay, if Bud did it, yeah, come on, Tank. Now you got Keyshawn Davis. Like, okay, well, Shakur, if you want to fight Tank, fight me. You know what I'm saying? They can ignite that between fighters, and before you know it, we'll have the elite fighting elite. Whether it's black versus black, black versus Mexican, Mexican versus Mexican, white versus white, for all I care. We'll just get that back started, and we don't have that in the sport of boxing right now, and we need that.
Yeah, I think that we definitely need Keyshawn versus Shakur. I said that Keyshawn Davis versus Shakur. We don't need no. That's my brother. I love him. He got me right for an hour. We don't need none of that, bro. We don't need that. I love. I don't know what's wrong with these young fighters loving on each other. They all loving. Lovey dovey. You know, Shakur posting on his Instagram, I love you, brother. Happy birthday. What? Look, let me tell you something, man. We finna go left real quick. Coach B, my partner. I know Coach B since I was like 15, bro. You never gonna hear me say, Coach B, I love you, dude. You never gonna hear me say that, bro. That's my partner, though. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? That's my partner. What's understood don't need to be explained. I don't need to tell him now. I don't need to, oh, hey, I love you, Coach. No. And he agreed with me. If we both were active fighters and we in the same weight class, I'm a champion, he a champion, I'm in his way. He gonna want to fight me. He gonna be like, hey, bro, look, we gonna have to fight. You know what I mean? We'll dab up later. We putting money in each other's pocket,
Right.
right? I'm feeding my family. You feeding yours. We'll be cool afterwards. We ain't gonna be cool for 2 months, and then we're gonna fight. And then after that, hey, bro, hey, that was a good round. Hey, remember you hit me in my eye closed now. Yeah. Hey, man, remember I knocked you out. Oh, whatever the case is. But this whole notion Shakur doing with the the whole band of brothers thing he trying to build, man, let's stop it, bro. Right? I seen, DGO 0082. He talking about Tank is scary. Well, it look like Shakur's scary. Cause he still ain't fought no top competition. He talking about it. It sound good, but he ain't fought no top competition. That's another conversation we need to have, right? Because everybody ridiculing Boots, and they're like, "Oh, Boots ain't fought nobody." But truthfully, who has Shakur Stevenson fought? Hmm?
Hmm. Hmm.
Like he talking about, look, he hyping up this Teofimo fight, but you over there in Puerto Rico helping out Jake Paul. So what are we talking about, right? We going off potential, right? And this is what I'm talking about. We segueing back into the Shakur Stevenson thing. Shakur Stevenson is a guy that got a lot of potential. You see the skills when he fight, right? But the question is, can he do that against top competition? Right? You do see he fight different when he in there with some punchers, though. When he in there with some punchers, holla pimp, that boy on that trail ride. He sliding and gliding all over that ring. When he in there with a dude that ain't got power, you see him sitting in front of him a little bit more. You see him catching on the glove and returning, and you know what I mean, catching and shooting, and Philly shelling and catching, on his shoulder. You know what I mean, parrying punches. You see him doing that. But when he in there with a puncher, holla pimp, go look at that Edwin De Los Santos fight. Go look at that Nakatilia fight. Right? That boy slipping and sliding all around that ring. So if we're gonna sit here and we're gonna ridicule Boots and say, "Oh, Boots don't deserve opportunity with Bud, but tried to fight him 2 times," then does Shakur really deserve an opportunity with Tank? And we can't just use, "Oh, he's a champion," right? I mean, Shakur still fighting on Fridays and Thursdays and on undercards. He left Top Rank where he was main eventing and went to fight with Eddie Hearn, and he ain't main event nothing with Eddie Hearn. We just being real. If we want to look at, and this is what I'm saying, we have to be consistent in boxing. We're not consistent. People want to push agendas for the type of fighters that they like, and then the fighters they don't like, they want to talk bad about them. This is what Tank is talking about. This is why he say boxing is trash. Right? Now, me, I still feel like that's an excuse. You know what I mean? I still feel like that's an excuse. But at the end of the day, the situation is what it is. The brother said, what made Bud deserve a fight with Spence? The public wanted the fight. The fans wanted that fight. So when there's a demand for a fight, just kind of like there was a demand for Canelo to fight David Benavidez and he refused to do it. But that's a whole nother conversation. A lot of people are not pushing for Shakur to fight Gervonta Tank Davis. There are some people, right, that want to see it. Okay? I would like to see the fight. I'm not going to lie to you. But I'm telling you right now, like, it's not going to be as big as Shakur is trying to hype it up to be. It's just not. Tank versus Teofimo is a bigger fight than Tank versus Shakur. Tank versus Keyshawn Davis, right? Who's retired from boxing. I want y'all to pay attention. He just said he just did a live the other day, so I'm retired from boxing. Nobody talking about that, but Tank said he retired. Everybody talking about it. But I digress. All I'm saying at the end of the day is this. What's up, 2 cents? All I'm saying at the end of the day, we got to be consistent in boxing, right? We can't sit here and when it as it pertains to, Tank, he's retiring. Oh man. Oh man, he a beastie. He this, he's scary. He this, that. But didn't Shakur retire too? Shakur retired. Nobody had an issue with that, right? Keyshawn Davis, I just said on the live the other day, said, I'm retired from boxing. I'm not talking about boxing. Nobody talking about that. So if we're going to sit here, we're going to hold the fire for Tank, then we need to hold the fire for Shakur. We need to hold the fire to Keyshawn too, right? Because they just repeating the cycle. That's all they doing. But it's because it's not your favorite fighter, because you don't like Tank, you ridicule him. I don't agree with everything that man do. I'm not gonna sit here and cap. As a boxing fan, I would love to see him fight everybody. But at the end of the day, I understand boxing is a business. And I understand that Tank looking at it from a business perspective. So when they bring up Shakur, he looking at Shakur like, what is he doing? He fighting on Thursdays and Fridays. He just fought Wednesday Payday. You heard what he said. Then he won his last fight, but look how he looked in that fight. And even Shakur after the fight didn't make it no better because he said, hey man, that was the toughest fight of my life. I was sore. Fighting Wednesday Payday? So I'm just keeping it 1,000, bro. So I'm just being real, bro. At the end of the day, like, we got to keep that same energy in boxing. That's all I'm saying. That's why my channel is here, because we don't be consistent. Shakur going to spar Jake Paul, Raymond Ford going to spar Jake Paul. I'm telling a little, no, it's okay. But when Boots did it, it was a problem, right? Bud can sit there and say, oh man, I ain't fighting him. I ain't fighting him. I ain't fighting him. It's okay. But when this so-called was happening to him, it was a problem. When everybody was sitting there, oh, Bud's not getting the opportunities. They're not giving Bud. The PBC is blackballing him. Okay, cool. If they blackballing him, why didn't he go over there? Why didn't he go over there? And he ended up going over there anyway. But why didn't he go over there? Or why didn't he reach out to them fighters personally, like he did Sean Porter, like he did Errol Spence, like he did Canelo? Huh? Nobody got answers. So all I'm saying at the end of the day is when we analyze boxing, right, we have to understand that we have to hold everybody accountable. But like I told you, I'm in the business of putting people in their place. What do I mean by that? You got people who call themselves boxing fans when they really casual fans, right? It's 2025, so y'all are misgendering yourselves. Y'all transgenders. Excuse me, but we just keep it 1,000. You know how them transgenders say, "Oh, I'm a dog, I'm a cat, I'm a light pole, It's a woman. She says she a man. It's a man says she a woman. That's how it is right now in the sport of boxing. You got people who are casual fans who are misconstruing themselves for real boxing fans, and that's why this boxing game is so mixed up. And I'm sorry if I offended somebody, but it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. When you analyze everything, um, it's a lot of fanboyism, right? I was watching 2 Cents earlier today, and you had people justifying Shakur Stevenson going to fight spar Jake Paul. You have people justifying. You got people justifying. You got people justifying. Uh. You know, Raymond Ford and all these other dudes doing what they doing, justifying what Bud doing. Just what I mean. It's a whole lot of justifying bad behavior for their favorite fighter, but a fighter that they don't like. There's no. They go left on them. So I just had to say that. Pay the fool. What's good, man? What you got to say?
What's going on, bro? Much, bro. I agree with pretty much everything you said. I just think that it's crazy how another nigga like I don't get me wrong with the shit with Boots. He had a fight. I mean, he was already in camp anyway, so it was like I don't think he really owed Terrence Crawford no, you know what I'm saying, no loyalty. I mean, they ain't no niggas that hang around each other. But far as Shakur was the same. I got an issue with that shit because the nigga was on some shit like he got way too much pride for this shit, and he wouldn't take no Jake Paul fight or no shit like that or whatever. Talking about his integrity and all this shit. Talking about he going for legacy and all this shit, but yeah, you going to be a nigga sparring partner. Mind you, you a fucking champion 9 times out of 10. Sparring come to you, not the other way around. But yeah, that's only my issue with it. I wouldn't have had no problem if the nigga want to try to downplay the shit. Then nigga try to
Hey, pay the fool. I think your stuff chopped up, man. But I 1,000% agree with you. And this goes to show the hatred that they got for Devontae Tank Davis. It's crazy. It's crazy work. You know what I mean? If anything, bro, you should be really aligning yourself with that man, bro. You know what I mean? You should be aligning yourself with that man, wishing well for him. Be like, hey, man, I want you to win because I want to fight you next. Nah, what is he doing? I'm going to go ahead and go and fight. I'm going to go ahead and go work with Jake Paul. And he gloating about it. He tweeting about it. He posting on his story. You know what I mean? He doing all that. I'm working with him uh, for his business brain, for his business mind. It's like, man, look, at the end of the day, brother, you got to understand that, like, when you, if you, in this boxing game, you got a lot of competition right now in this boxing game where people are trying to take over your sport. You got outsiders coming in. I'm talking about Dana White. I'm talking about Turkey, right? They coming in, they doing what they doing. You got Jake Paul, who's an outsider. He coming in doing what he doing. If anything, you should be aligning yourself with the people who've been in the sport with you, who you watched grow, right? You used to spar Tank, right? And then after one of Tank's fights, you came in the locker room to take a picture with her. So all I'm saying at the end of the day is there has to be consistency, bro. The brother, you know, I don't understand it. The brother, man, he ain't moving right, bro. This is the most legal boxing has ever been. If we don't get Shakur's Tank, who do we blame? We blame both of them, right? We blame both of them, and the reason why I say that is this: Shakur is a promotional free agent technically, right? Eddie Hearn is trying to get him to come back over there, but if Shakur go back to Eddie Hearn, he can kiss that fight goodbye because Tank and them ain't gonna work with Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn doesn't work well with the PBC for some reason. I don't know why, but they don't work well. The only way that fight get made is if they get Turkey involved, and that's the only way that fight gets made. Or Shakur finds a way to work out a deal with Tank. Maybe call Tank personally. They cool, right? He called Tanks personally, and they negotiate the fight well amongst themselves, and then Tank can go back to Al Heyman, whoever else, and say, "Look, this will me and Shakur negotiate. Let's try to make this happen." That's it. But as far as them, like, if Coor re-signed with Eddie Hearn, that fight not happening, right? That's just what it boils down to. And truthfully, I think Shakur, right? Everybody talks about Shakur want to fight all these guys, man, and he wanted to fight Tank early on. I don't think Shakur is as confident in his abilities as he tries to portray himself to be, and as how people say. There's a reason why he went over there to Eddie Hearn the first time, and I'm just keeping that 1,000. I think Shakur, there's a little bit of self doubt there. So I think what he trying to do is kind of build his confidence up. You know what I mean? And then he'll try to push for that fight, or wait till he see a little bit more weaknesses in Tank, right? Nah, I'm pretty sure people gonna be like, "Oh, the Lamar Roach fight," but nah, I think he waiting to see a little bit more. Tay Walter said, "Hey, boss, I heard some on Twitter talk about if Tank BJ Cool gonna jump in the ring to do a face off with Tank to force the fight. How do you feel if that happens, fam?" Coach, you want to answer that first?
Uh, I ain't gonna lie. That's that's trash entertainment, man. That's trash entertainment. Why do we need a Tank and Jake Paul fight for y'all to have an official kickoff to y'all campaign to fight each other? Why do we have to deal with the foolishness and the neglect towards the sport of boxing just to get Shakur and Tank to fight each other? It's just mind boggling that we have to resort to Jake Paul and outsiders to help promote a fight of the a fight with the magnitude between a Tank and a Shakur. It just baffles me. We like, if that's true, then I wouldn't even partake in this situation no more. If we got to go through Jake Paul and Tank to get Tank and Shakur, now we letting guys who've done absolutely nothing for the sport of boxing advocate for getting the best to fight the best. Yeah, I'll be happy if we get it, but if we got to take these measures and go through this route, I don't know how much I'll be invested, because then I'll think it's some type of, you know, consent form involved, or I'll think it's some type of, because when I watch a Jake Paul fight, I feel like it's certain incentives that's involved that keeps these fighters from actually beating upon Jake Paul. There's a couple fights where I was like, oh no, Jake Paul actually beat that dude. But at the same time, it's like some of these fights he's taking part in, is like, I know it was some kind of incentives or some type of stipulations in the contract that prevented these fighters from actually whooping on Jake Paul. And if we go through this form and this realm to get a Tank Shakur fight, I'm gonna think it's something else within the contract, behind closed doors, behind the cameras, that's enticing this fight. And I'm gonna feel like we're not gonna get the true fighters who we actually know who they should be when they get in the ring and fight each other. I feel like we're gonna get a shell of the fighters, and one of the fighters is just gonna lay down and be like, all right, bro, we both getting paid. This was in the contract. I'm gonna go ahead and let you win these first 9 rounds, and then after that, I'm gonna knock you out. We both get paid. We go home. That's how I'm gonna feel if we got to go through this type of hoop. If we got to jump through these type of hoops to get a Shakur and Tank fight, it should be simple. The best fighting the best. Well, let's have the that's claimed to be the best fighting the best. You get what I'm saying? Like you're critically claimed to be the best. So why not get in there and fight each other? Why we got to go to these measures just to get y'all to fight each other? That's politicking to a whole different level. Not only that, you bring it in the entertainment realm. You bring it in the, like Capo said, the YouTubers, the Nickelodeon. You get what I'm saying? That's entertainment. That's acting at its finest. I don't care for that. Like if that's what y'all got going, if we do got to go through this, leave all that face off on the stage, in the ring, off camera. Y'all find a way to turn this into something else behind cameras. Just come out a couple months later and say, "Hey, we finally finna fight." Don't do all this stuff in the ring. We don't need all the antics and the foolishness.
Yeah, in my opinion, I don't believe that. I think the type of individual that Tank is, from what I've seen, like I don't know him personally, but I think that if Tank gonna fight Shakur next, he gonna it's gonna be something that he announces himself, right? He's not gonna allow Shakur to get in the ring and face off with him. I just don't see that happening, and I think that Two Cents had a great point. She says, if Shakur was trying to get the smoke from Tank, he would have fought Lamar Roach. And I guess she's saying Shakur would have fought Lamar Roach, right? But I just think that, it's an MVP event. It ain't, yes, PBC working with him, but it's an MVP event. Like it's two networks that Shakur has no dealings with. Like he's never fought on PBC. He's never fought on an MVP event. So what pool will he have to get in the ring and face off with Tank? So I don't agree with that. But Tay Walter, man, good luck on your track season. I looked you up, man. You won your indoor season in 2019 and 2018, man. I used to run track back in the day too, so much respect to you, brother. But I agree with too. It seemed like Shakur just trying to get a little clout off Tank's name, because you notice like a lot of the time, and this gonna rub some people the wrong way, but if it feels like Shakur kind of utilizes Tank's name when he know he need to, right? A lot of these dudes do, right? And it's crazy because this is an event that I'm not gonna lie to you. I have no plan on watching Tank versus Jake Paul. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's my personal decision. But at the same time, Shakur said the same thing, but he helping Jake Paul. So it seemed like he just trying to get clout from just being around Tank, right? And it's like, dude, if you're really that guy, if you believe you're that guy, you don't need to get clout off nobody's name, right? You should be focusing on building Shakur Stevenson's brand. Focus on, you know, seeing how you could get these fights. And I think what hurt Shakur is the clout chasing and the brotherly love that he be exposing. I gotta keep talking about that because it's weird to me. Okay, how do you sit there? Hey, brother, I love you, brother. How are you doing, my bro, Keyshawn, I love you. Hey, Raymond Ford. Hey, brother. Yeah, we sit on the phone and talk for hours. You sitting on the phone talking to a dude that was in your weight class that was a champion for hours, and then he moving up to 40, and I'm hearing rumors that like if Shakur beats Teofimo and gets the belt, he gonna drop the belt so Keyshawn can fight for the belt. What sense does that make? Make that make sense, huh? They Shakur Stevenson energy should be like, hey, you my partner, but we finna fight. That's what it is. Hey, you got to come take this belt from me, bro. You know what I mean? Ain't in the business of boxing, when it comes to the business side, hey man, it is what it is. I'm trying to build my brand. When you trying to be great, hey man, look, we got to fight. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. You in the way. If you don't want to fight, hey, go up 3 weight classes, go up 2 weight classes. I don't got to worry about you. But it seemed like they whole empire they got over there. Shakur Stevenson, Terrence Crawford. Oh, it's my brother. They tickling each other and all type of weird stuff. It's like, bro, what's going on, bro? Like, let's get back to boxing. You know what I'm saying? That's the only problem I have with Shakur. It's like he too friendly, right? He too friendly, but then he want to get gangster in the comment section. Cause I don't know if y'all know, he came in my comment section one of my videos trying to act like somebody else, talking about when I see you. Okay, cool. He got to understand that I'm almost 40 years old, right? I'm a grown man, right? I done been on this earth, almost what? I don't know if that's half a century, but I've been on this earth a while. I'm not running from no smoke. That's what it boils down to. But all this, that's my brother. I love him. Shakur, Keyshawn, Abdullah Mason. Yeah, I helped him. It seemed like the dudes that's a threat to him, he tried to be friends with them. He tried to be their brother. Hey, yeah, I'm big bro to him. Yeah, I used to spar him. I helped him. Okay. Yeah, I got an issue with that, brother. You know what I'm saying? So, but the one that's gonna get him, if he stay at that weight class, Shakur is Abdullah Mason. Abdullah Mason got all them boys moving around. Right? If he get that belt, so we shall see. But I mean, Coach, do you feel like Shakur Stevenson is clout chasing off Tank's name? Do you feel like a lot of people clout chase off Tank's name and be lazy and try to build off his name? And right now, the thing to help to build their brands to hate on Tank. That's their thing. So do you feel like that's their angle, or you think they're justified in that? Let me know something.
Nah, it's an easy out for a lot of people to sit there and use Tank's name in vain when it comes to the sport of boxing. It's crazy that I 100% think that they're clout chasing. Like, just like Two Cent said in the comments, if you really wanted to get some glorification off of Tank's name, you should have got in the ring with Lamont, beat Lamont Roach, and then be like, Tank, I beat him. Now you come up here and beat me since you say, you won that fight or it wasn't a draw. However the situation went. That's how you really go about actually gaining notoriety from somebody who you actually want to beat or be in the ring with. You get in there and you dispose of people or other fighters who they have struggled with. Like, it's simple, but he's 100% clout chasing off of Tank's name. I'm not even going to elaborate off that. It's evident. He uses that name in vain, like you said. Every time he gets in trouble, every time he needs a way out, every time he needs to change the angle or widen the lens of the camera, what he do? Oh, Tank this, Tank that, Tank this, Tank that. I can do this. I'm finally gonna get in the ring with Tank. I can beat Tank. Tank ate this, Tank ate that. Man, we in contract negotiations. Oh, it didn't. He always bringing up that man name to get some type of notoriety or get his face back in the public. Always. I'm not even gonna elaborate on that no more. That's evident. If you sit there and think Shakur not clout chasing, then I don't know what to tell
Man, that boy Johnson, they tag team champs. But I agree though. Yeah, I mean, it's like I think Shakur is stalling his own career out because of that. He's stalling his own career out. Then when he don't get his way, he throw temper tantrums. I'm retiring, right? Then he comes back, right? And the thing that makes me see that he's not mentally strong is he's easily influenced by the fans. This man be posting on his Instagram comments from YouTube videos, right? Stuff people that said about him. He posts the comments on his Instagram. Okay, that's concerning to me. You know what I mean? So that lets me know you're not mentally strong like you trying to portray yourself to be. You need validation from people. That's why he post all his posts are about, Shakur, you're the best ever. Oh my God. You're the best in sliced bread. That's all the posts he posts. You see what I'm saying? That's all the posts. You're the best since you're better than Floyd. What? And I'm not gonna lie to you. This whole gaslighting thing by his defense. Look, he's a good master of distance, but let's slow down on that, man. He is hard to hit. right? But he ain't in a ballpark of a Floyd, right? And I'm not trying to bash him. I'm just sitting here pointing out facts. He's a very skillful guy, but at the same time, we got to pump our brakes. When you really look at his resume and you look at what he's accomplished in boxing, okay, cool. Yeah, he got Oscar Valdez, you know, he beat Conceição, he beat what's that tall dude name? He got a podcast, and I forgot his name. Y'all put it in there. But that's it. You know, at 35, they tried to hype up this Williams Zepeda fight, talking about, oh, these are the two best lightweights. Williams Zepeda ain't fought nobody, bro. He struggled to beat Tevin Farmer. I thought he lost the first time. I'm not gonna lie to you. You know what I mean? So I knew when he got them Shakur body bag toe tag. You know what I'm saying? Nah, granted, he almost he almost knocked out Shakur in the third round, but it was a boxing clinic. Williams Zepeda is an in shape street fighter. He just gonna throw a bunch of punches. There's no IQ element or nothing to his game. There's none of that. Thank you, Aircraft Jermaine Heron. There's no IQ to his game. So we knew what was gonna happen with that. So it's just like, what fights are he fighting to where you like, okay, this dude is gonna challenge his IQ? Nobody. And honestly, I feel like this Teofimo thing is a clout chase. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Because you got Teofimo talking about fighting Pacquiao and all these other fighters, and he like, oh, I might fight Shakur. That's still, but if it was clear cut, he finna fight Shakur Stevenson, that's what he would only be talking about. He bringing up other fighters. So how are we gonna sit here and say, oh, Shakur's the best and this, that? I mean, what? And the only reason I'm going this route is because of the fact that they want to talk bad about Tank. They want to talk bad about Boots, but it's like they don't really say nothing about Shakur. And I'm like, and y'all know me. When I first started my channel, I talk highly of Shakur. But it's like I was expecting him to be further along by now. He hasn't crossed that step, right? And he hasn't shown separation to me, in my opinion. Y'all may correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, 2 cents. Y'all let me know in the comment section. The Aircraft, has Shakur Stevenson showed you a separation to where you like, you know what, man, this dude is elite? I ain't seen that yet, because the times he fought fights with dangerous fighters, the man was on the fifth floor trail ride. He's slipping and sliding. He had Splash Town in Spring, Texas. He's sliding down the slide. You know what I mean? He barely throwing punches, barely engaging. He just making a dude miss, dancing around the ring. To the point where, people booing and then people walking out his fights. And every other fight, he hurting his hands. I'm just keeping it 1,000, man. When you watch Tank fight, it's entertaining. And I'm just being real. I'm not saying this because of, I'm a fan of Tank. Anybody who watch boxing, you watch Tank and you watch Shakur, you're gonna be more entertained watching Tank. Even Tank vs. Lamar Roach, although he didn't knock Lamar Roach out like I predicted he would, and everybody thought he would, it was still an entertaining fight. It was like, whoa, Lamar Roach stepped up to the plate. Right? So it's like, okay. I mean, but you got to be real. Tank warned us about Lamar Roach. He said, hey, man, this dude got sneaky power. He good. So we're not going to sit here and, act like and elevate Shakur and ignore the stuff he doing and then just bash Tank for everything. I mean, Coach, what you think about that, man? I mean, like, these dudes, bro, I can't hammer it home enough that when they sit here and it's their favorite fighter, everything cool. But it's a dude they don't like, they on his head like a fitted cap. So give your insight. Let them know.
I mean, it's simple. It's just like with Floyd Money Mayweather. Regardless if you was tuning in to see him get beat or you was tuning in to see him win, whether you liked him or you hate him, you still tuned into it. You still watch the fight, regardless. And they don't want to accept the fact that Tank is one of those guys. And people don't just tune in because they don't like him. They want to see him lose, or they like him and they want to see him win. It's the element of surprise there in every Tank fight. The element of surprise. How he gonna knock this guy out this time? What round he gonna do it in this time? In what fashion is he gonna do it? You know, the element of surprise is present at all times when Tank is in the ring. You know, and like you said, like you mentioned earlier, it's boxing. You're not gonna knock everybody out. You're not gonna knock everybody out. And again, I mentioned this before. If you don't know who Lamont, if you didn't know who Lamont Roach was before he fought Tank, then you're not a real boxing fan. The guy been around the block. He not some fighter that just came out of nowhere and Tank brought him up and said, "Let's fight." No, that guy knows. He knows the sport of boxing. He knows what he's doing. Now you can make the argument and say Tank wasn't supposed to let him stick around in the way he did, but at the same time, he's not gonna knock everybody out. Like I said, uh, excuse me, Tank has the element of surprise in his fight. So you're going to tune in whether you want to or not, whether you like him or not, whether you want to see him win or you want to lose. With Shakur is like, bro, where's the so-called greatness? Where's the element of surprise? Where's the elite skill set that separates you and puts you above everybody with all this talk you got going, with all that hype you got going behind you? It's the same thing with Shakur. He gonna make you miss. He gonna try to make you pay. And if you feel like he can't make you pay in a valuable way, and you a power puncher, he gonna run around. He not gonna fight. He not gonna sit there and give you an opportunity to set your feet. And he gonna be all over the ring. He gonna be doing burnouts in the ring. Or he just gonna be on the treadmill, going. And nobody, and I shouldn't even say this, but nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see that. Like, I get it. I get the health thing. Fighter guys should be fighting to, be able to live for the future and see their kids grow up. I get all of that. But at the same time, you can't continuously get in the ring and give us absolutely nothing. And again, like I said before, they talk about the Zepeda fight as if he done something spectacular. No, you did what you were supposed to do. Everybody knows Zepeda ain't no power puncher. He a volume puncher. That's it. That is it. So why we got hyped for that fight, I don't know. All his other fights, he did what he was supposed to do. So when did Shakur really earn the credibility and the notoriety of top-notch elite competitor? When did he earn that? At what fight did he earn that? Against who did he earn that title? I don't understand. I, I'm gonna put the stick down because I'm not gonna keep beating a dead horse. And the subjects we talk about fall on deaf ears. Like, it's crazy. Stop hyping these guys up before they get a chance to actually prove themselves, and let these boxers become who they're gonna be, and then we go from there. It's too many fans in the sport of boxing. As soon as they see a guy do something spectacular, or they feel like a guy did something spectacular against a mediocre fighter, they want to move the goalposts, or they want to keep wanting to raise the bar every time they see him. No, let's halt that. Wait till they get to where they really got some true competition, and then say. But you can't say that with Tank because he's giving you the element of surprise. When it's time for him to get rid of his competition, he disposes of his competition, regardless if they on his level or not. He gives you, he gives you what you tuned in for. The only fight he hasn't delivered is the Roach fight, and he said it himself. I played around. I really didn't tap in, and I didn't get rid of that guy like I was supposed to. I didn't take advantage of the moment. Tank said that out of his own mouth. So I can respect that. But at the same time, the next part to that statement is to get in there and do it again and show us what you're talking about. That'll take him to another level. That'll get him surpass the whole thing of, oh, he trash. He ain't fought nobody. His resume trash. I'm not saying his resume trash, but again, like I say, the stamp we put on Tank, you go back and look at his resume, it quite don't line up with his superstar status. It don't equate to a superstar status. But at the same time, he delivers each and every time when he's in the ring. And with Shakur, you don't have that element. It's just not there.
Two Sensei. That's why he got Mayweather, Andre Ward, Terrence Crawford. He need so much support. I mean, that's facts. He got Terrence Crawford in his corner. Think about that fight. What fight was it? The De Los Santos fight. He had Terrence Crawford backstage, Andre Ward, and Floyd. Right? Now, I don't know if Floyd stayed to watch the fight because I didn't see him in the crowd. I don't know. He just came back there, was like, ah, it was good, and left. Um, but you had those guys coaching him from the stands. Hey, bro, use your jab. Hey, do this. Hey, do this. Hey, do that. You know? And Shakur like, nah, man. Hey, do this. It may have been the Harutyan fight. It may have been that fight too. But they was trying to give him good, feedback, and he wasn't trying to hear. He had an excuse for everything. Nah, because he was running and he was doing this. And he was doing so. It looks like he got Terrence and them around for the support, right? And that's why he needs his band of brothers. He needs all of his brothers to basically coddle him and tell him, hey, Shakur, you're the greatest ever. Because that's my brother. I love him. He got me right for an hour. You know, that's what he needs. He needs that. What two cents say? That Johnson bounce? They Johnson bounce on each other. That's what two cents said, man. I still laugh about that, dog. they Johnson bouncing on each other lap, man. Straight raw, man. Straight raw, man. But that's just what it is, right? That's the problem I have, with boxing today is people ignore the faults of their favorite fighter. And then they want to try to ignore him and uplift him and overhype him. Shakur Stevenson is a good fighter, but he ain't fought those names, brother. And that's real talk. John Wick say, Core said, nah, he was running too, meaning his scare was also running.
Oh, come on.
Hey, like I said, man, look, we just keeping it 1,000, man. Shakur Stevenson is a good boxer, bro. You know what I mean? Nobody's taking that away from him. We see the skill, but at the end of the day, like, just like, they sit there and they say, what has Boots done? Boots ain't did nothing to get a Terrence Crawford fight. What has Shakur done? I made videos about that. Well, Shakur's a champion. Okay, cool. There are a lot of, like Coach said, there are a lot of champions, right? Who you could look at and be like, you know, I mean, how did like, truthfully, how did Shakur get his belt? He fought for a vacant WBC belt, right? A belt that Devin Haney dropped, right? And we forget that Devin Haney sent Shakur Stevenson a contract, and he said, "I know my worth." That was his response. I know my worth. But your big brother just fought Canelo and took whatever, pause, that Canelo offered him and inherited everything. Not today, yesterday's price, not today's price. You saw how that work? If you would have fought Devin Haney at that point in time and you beat Devin Haney, right? And I'm not saying Devin Haney was the cash cow, but he was trying to act like it. You would have beat that version of Devin Haney before he got, into the Ryan situation. Think about, okay, now you could say, hey, I fought Devin Haney, right? You could come to the table and say that. That's why I like Tank in the Tio fight because, okay, Teofimo can say, hey, I fought Lomachenko. Hey, I fought Josh Taylor. right? And I looked dominant in those performances. Yeah, I had a bad performance because George Cambosos and you know Sandor Martin, but when I fought when I fight top names in the sport of boxing, I perform. I do think Shakur has opportunity if he's to fight Tank to beat Tank. But the only way he gonna beat him is if he makes it a boring fight. That's it. But other than that, I don't think he's deserving of that fight. That's just my opinion. You got anything else, Coach?
Nah, that's it for me, Capo. That's it for me.
All right, man. Look, I told y'all every Saturday, me and Coach gonna be going live. Next week, what's on the menu? Terrence Bud Crawford. That's on the menu. So y'all stay tuned, man. You know what I mean? We just have to cook on this Shakur pack real quick. Pause. You know what I mean? We had to smoke that Shakur pack. You know what I mean? But we done with it. We didn't put it out. And next week, like El Spence say, what he say? We smoking on that Bud pack. That's what we're gonna do next Saturday. So y'all be ready. 7 o'clock. 7 to 7:30 is when we're going live. 2 cents next week. If you want to jump on the live, if you ain't doing nothing, come join us. John Wick, shout out to you, H Time, man. You know what I mean? I think you say you from the Southwest side. I remember. Don't make me dig. If I'm wrong, let me know. But you know what I mean? Much respect to everybody in the channel. I'm Boss. That's Coach. We out of here.
Hello.